Good evening. Look up on any city street and you'll see them. The grey ghost, the familiar coo, the often maligned feral pigeon. Tonight, we are dedicating 30 minutes to the full, comprehensive history of this extraordinary bird, the rock dove, Columba livia. This bird is not just a city scavenger. It is a creature that has been a soldier, a scientific muse, an architect of human belief, and a biological marvel for millennia. We will trace its journey from the prehistoric cliffs of North Africa to its contemporary status as a master of both navigation and urban survival, detailing the facts, the fascinating stories, and the enduring scientific conjectures that surround this living icon. The wild ancestral rock dove is a creature of high vertical spaces. Its native non-introduced range is vast, spreading across coastal and mountainous regions of Europe, North Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia. They chose rocky areas, sea caves, and high cliff faces because these provided inaccessible nesting sites, safe from most mammalian ground predators. This preference for vertical sanctuary is the key to understanding its urban success. The pigeon we see today is a feral population, the descendant of escaped or released domestic birds. These birds exhibit behavioral conservatism. They have not changed their essential nesting habits. They simply recognize that our skyscrapers, bridges, and cornices are perfect anthropogenic cliffs. A window ledge offers the same height, protection, and vantage point as a cliff face on the Strait of Gibraltar. Their fidelity to these high structures minimizes predation risk from urban mammals like cats, rats, and raccoons, mimicking the safety of their wild homes. The rock dove originally comprised up to 9 different subspecies, each adapted to its specific regional climate, morphology, and diet. For instance, Columba livia daklai, found in Egypt's oases, is notably paler and smaller to reflect less heat and require less water. Columba livia atlantis of the Canary Islands has a darker, more variable plumage. Sadly, due to widespread hybridization with escaped domestic breeds, a form of genetic pollution, true genetically pure wild rock doves are now considered vulnerable in much of their original range. They persist mainly in remote coastal regions, like the isolated sea stacks of Scotland or in protected pockets of the Mediterranean. Conservation efforts are now focused on protecting these last genetic reservoirs, which hold the original untainted template of Columba livia. The pigeon is primarily a granivore, a seed and grain eater. However, its digestive system is highly plastic, allowing it to exploit the spilled food, crumbs, and discarded waste of the city. This adaptability is amplified by its ability to digest food incredibly quickly, a necessary adaptation for a bird that minimizes time spent on the ground. Its capacity to drink water by suction, rather than the tipping and scooping method of most birds, is another advantage, allowing it to exploit shallow puddles and standing water with minimal exposure time. This efficient use of human detritus and water resources is what sustains the incredibly high population densities we observe in urban centers. They are simply perfectly engineered to utilize the ecological niche created by human wastefulness. The history of pigeon domestication, dating back 5,000 to 10,000 years, likely starting in the Near East, is central to modern evolutionary biology. Charles Darwin, in the mid-19th century, was struggling to make his grand theory of natural selection relatable and observable. He needed an undeniable living example of extreme variation arising from a single common ancestor. He found his proof in the pigeon loft. His comprehensive study began in 1855, and he joined several pigeon fancying clubs, engaging directly with expert breeders, whom he called the most careful and skilled experimentalists, to understand the meticulous, generational selective processes used to create such varied forms. He collected and bred nearly 16 different varieties at his home, Down House. In the very first chapter of On the Origin of Species, Darwin dedicates significant space to the pigeon, using it to introduce the concept of artificial selection. He argued that if human will, acting with conscious selection and intention over just a few centuries, could produce such staggering diversity in plumage, skeletal structure, and behavior, from the large-beaked English carrier to the tiny, short-faced tumbler, then nature, acting relentlessly and unconsciously over geological timescales, was infinitely more powerful and creative. The sheer scale of variation available in pigeon breeds provided his most accessible and powerful opening argument. Let us examine the three main categories of breed selection and their exaggerated non-survival traits: form, body, and size. The Maltese is bred with elongated featherless legs and a dramatically upright, almost vertical stance, sacrificing natural agility for novelty. The runt, historically bred for colossal size and meat yield, can weigh over 40 ounces, triple the weight of a wild rock dove, making its flight cumbersome and energy-intensive. This selection for gigantism demonstrates a complete override of natural selection's preference for lightweight, aerodynamic efficiency. The fantail may possess 30 or more tail feathers, in contrast to the ancestral 12, creating a beautiful fan-like display, but making it aerodynamically inefficient and conspicuous to predators. The Jacobin is shrouded in a dense feathered hood or rosette, which often obscures its vision, a trait purely for human aesthetics. These features would be immediately selected against in the wild due to the survival penalties they incur. Performance behavior. The high flyer is genetically driven to soar at altitudes and for durations far beyond the wild rock dove's needs, maximizing exposure to raptors but thrilling their owners. The tumbler is genetically predisposed to perform backward somersaults during flight, a trait that provides zero survival benefit and makes them easy prey. Darwin used these extreme, non-survival traits as irrefutable proof of selection's immense malleable power. Darwin's most convincing evidence lay in his crossbreeding experiments. When he crossbred two wildly different, non-blue-barred breeds, like a white fantail and a red tumbler, the offspring would sometimes revert, a phenomenon called atavism, to the ancestral blue-gray plumage, black tailband, and the distinctive double-wing bar pattern. This proved that the underlying genes for the original rock dove were not lost. They were simply dormant or suppressed by human selection, waiting to be expressed when the selective pressure was removed. All modern breeds were proven, irrevocably, to be variations on the single theme of Columba livia. Pigeons are highly social and often practice serial or lifetime monogamy, with pairs often remaining bonded for years. Their reproductive cycle is rapid and highly efficient. The shared incubation duty, male by day, roughly 10 am to 4 p.m., female by night, ensures maximal efficiency and minimal energy expenditure for both parents, allowing them to rapidly begin a new clutch shortly after the current young fledge. They are indefatigable breeders, capable of producing up to 8 broods a year under ideal urban conditions. The key to their rapid reproduction is the production of crop milk, a physiological process that has no true parallel in the avian world. It is induced by the pituitary hormone prolactin, the same hormone that governs lactation in mammals. About 7 days before the eggs are due to hatch, prolactin stimulates the epithelial cells lining the crop in both the male and the female to undergo a massive proliferation, filling with nutrient stores. This biological preparation ensures the parents are ready to feed the moment the squabs arrive, a critical head start. The resulting crop milk is not a fluid secretion, but a cellular sloughing, a rich, semi-solid substance, often described as looking like cottage cheese. It is staggeringly high in energy, approximately 60% protein and 30–35% fat, providing an unparalleled initial energy source for the rapidly growing squabs. This density is necessary because squabs undergo exponential growth, often doubling their birth weight in the first 48 hours and reaching adult weight in less than 4 weeks. The production of crop milk requires a dramatic cellular shift, known as apocrine secretion, where the entire cell breaks down to release its contents. The intensity of this process is governed by localized receptors for prolactin within the crop tissue. Interestingly, studies have shown that just the sound of hatching chicks can increase prolactin levels in parents whose eggs were sterile, demonstrating a complex neuroendocrine feedback loop preparing the parents for feeding. Beyond pure nutrition, scientists conjecture that crop milk serves as a vital vector for microbiome transfer. The milk is not sterile. It contains beneficial bacteria and fungi from the parental crop. This transfer helps the squab rapidly colonize its sterile gut with beneficial flora, which is essential for digesting complex carbohydrates, seeds, and grains later in life, and helps confer early immunity. This is a crucial early defense against pathogens found in the dusty, bacteria-laden nest environment. The process is carefully controlled. For the first few days, the squab receives pure crop milk. As it ages, the parents gradually mix in softened, regurgitated seeds, slowly weaning the squab off the pure milk until the crop lining regresses back to its normal state. This finely tuned nutritional transition from a high-fat protein diet to a primarily granivorous one is what allows pigeons to successfully rear young in such varied and often nutritionally poor urban conditions. The inherent homing ability of Columba livia was utilized by nearly every ancient civilization. They were the primary means of long-distance communication for millennia. Early examples include their use to announce Olympic victors in ancient Greece, the establishment of the first formalized airmail service by the Egyptians in 1150 AD, and the relay of stock market prices in early Europe. The international news agency Reuters started in 1850 by utilizing pigeons to bridge the gap between two telegraph lines. The sport exploded in popularity in 19th-century Belgium, where industrialization provided both the money and the free time for working-class men to formalize the rules and distances. Modern pigeon racing, or pigeon fancying, is a highly technical, multi-billion-dollar international industry. Champion birds, possessing a potent blend of genetics, rigorous training, and impeccable feather quality, are treated as elite athletes and commodities. In 2020, a racing pigeon named New Kim sold at auction for over $1.9 million, demonstrating the extraordinary financial value placed on this single skill. Speed and fidelity. Racing relies heavily on psychological conditioning and a specific method called the widowhood method. This strategy separates the male bird from his mate, creating intense sexual frustration and a singular powerful motivation to return home as fast as possible upon release. The birds know that they will be immediately reunited with their mate, or sometimes just granted access to the nest box, upon clocking their return. This drive, the most fundamental biological urge, is weaponized, fueling the speed and singular focus of the flight across hundreds of miles. The competitive, high-stakes nature of the sport has mandated the integration of advanced technologies. Modern races utilize electronic timing systems, ETS, using RFID chips on the bird's leg, ensuring accuracy to milliseconds. Furthermore, the sport must contend with pigeon doping. There is increasing conjecture and evidence of using performance-enhancing drugs, illegal antibiotics, and steroids to boost endurance and suppress illness, mirroring the scandals of human athletics. Organizations like the Royal Pigeon Racing Association are now attempting to implement strict anti-doping measures, using feather and blood samples to maintain the integrity of the race and the health of the birds. During times of siege, such as the Siege of Paris in 1870-71, pigeons were used to carry microfilmed messages, often hundreds of thousands of documents reduced to a tiny scroll, out of the besieged city. The messages were so small they required a microscope to read. This practice, known as pigeon post, cemented the pigeon's role as the single most reliable, non-interruptible communication tool before the advent of wireless technology. The pigeon's homing system is an astonishing layered blend of internal sensors and learned skills, often referred to as a compass and map system. This system is not a single sense, but a highly redundant backup network. The compass direction uses the sun's position, requiring a precise internal clock, and the Earth's magnetic field, magnetoreception. This sensory data tells the pigeon north is this way. The map, location. This is the system that tells the pigeon home is 500 miles southwest of here. The leading conjecture for this map remains the olfactory navigation hypothesis, where the bird uses atmospheric odor gradients to locate its position. The magnetic compass is not fully understood, but two primary mechanisms are theorized: specialized iron-rich particles, magnetite, in the bird's upper beak, and the most compelling theory, radical pair mechanism in the light-sensitive proteins of the bird's retina. This theory suggests that the pigeon can literally see the magnetic field as patterns of light and dark within its visual field, which explains why they often navigate better under specific light conditions. Experiments, often conducted in cities like Pisa, Italy, have provided overwhelming evidence for the olfactory map. Pigeons are released far from their home loft, having only ever been exposed to filtered or manipulated air at home. Those deprived of their olfactory information fly randomly or in circles upon release, proving that smell is the fundamental pillar of the map sense that tells them, I am here, and home is that way. Pigeons essentially build a smell landscape, associating the direction of the wind with the specific concentration of unique, volatile organic compounds, like the scent of the sea, particular industrial emissions, or specific vegetation, to create a functional grid system for homing. Beyond navigation, pigeons have demonstrated cognitive abilities previously thought exclusive to primates and dolphins. The classic test is the mirror self-recognition test. In the 1980s, researchers successfully demonstrated that pigeons, when marked with a small sticker on their breast that could only be seen in a mirror, would peck at the sticker rather than the mirror image. This suggests a capacity for self-awareness, the comprehension that the reflection is themselves, a major finding that fundamentally changed how we view avian intelligence. Pigeons exhibit advanced time-place learning, demonstrating they remember where food will be, e.g. they know food is available at location A at 9 a.m., but only at location B at 1 p.m. Most remarkably, they can learn and apply abstract relational rules, such as recognizing the relationships of same, different, or larger than smaller than when presented with complex, novel visual stimuli, confirming a level of abstract thinking that contradicts the historical term bird brain. They are capable of categorization, distinguishing between types of visual art, and even rudimentary counting, all skills that suggest a highly sophisticated visual processing system. The large, tightly packed urban flock is a strategy for survival known as the selfish herd. While a flock attracts attention, it also dilutes the risk. A peregrine falcon or a Harris hawk is far less likely to target a specific bird when 50 birds are taking evasive action simultaneously. The individual pigeon's best survival strategy is to constantly maneuver to remain in the safer, less exposed interior mass of the group. Studies show that when a predator attacks, birds at the edges are statistically much more likely to be taken. Within the flock, there is a clear dominance hierarchy, often established through aggressive displays, rapid wing slapping, and puffed-up chest rituals. Dominant birds gain priority access to the best foraging spots, ensuring the most fit birds gain energy and are better able to reproduce. Pigeons also display impressive foraging optimization. They rapidly learn to associate specific visual and auditory cues, e.g., the sound of a food cart's bell, the sight of a specific color bag, with the immediate availability of food, demonstrating complex pattern recognition for resource exploitation in a dynamic environment. The iconic, often comical head-bobbing motion while walking is not just a quirky habit. It's a profound visual processing necessity. The pigeon performs a hold and thrust motion. The head remains absolutely stable for a fraction of a second while the body moves forward, allowing the bird's vision to capture a clear, stable snapshot of the environment. The head then rapidly thrusts forward to reset the viewing position. This intermittent stabilization is a necessity because, unlike mammals, pigeons cannot move their eyes smoothly within their sockets. They rely on the rapid movement of the head to reset their visual field. The famous cooing is the primary form of non-visual communication. The male's deep, guttural display coo is used to attract a mate and establish territory. The loud coo-caroo is a display of dominance, often accompanied by the characteristic bowing ritual, where the male rapidly bobs his head while fluffing his iridescent neck feathers. Beyond cooing, they use subtle auditory cues. The rapid flapping of their wings creates a specific, loud whirring sound, which is used as an aerial alarm call to alert the rest of the flock to immediate danger. The recent proliferation of peregrine falcons and Cooper's hawks in urban environments has triggered a behavioral shift in pigeons. They are observed flying in much tighter, more highly synchronized formations, demonstrating complex, near-instantaneous coordination to evade attack. The sheer speed and agility of these maneuvers, the result of millennia of dealing with aerial raptors on the cliffs, is a testament to their deep evolutionary programming. The service of war pigeons remains one of the most heroic and under-celebrated chapters of the Rock Dove's story. Many were awarded the Dickin Medal, the highest honor for animals serving in conflicts. One notable recipient was Paddy, an Irish pigeon who flew 130 miles in under 5 hours across the English Channel, carrying vital intelligence from the D-Day landings in June 1944. Another Gustav delivered the very first news dispatches of the D-Day landings to Britain. The most famous was Cher Ami, a bird that saved nearly 200 men of the lost battalion in YY, delivering a message despite being shot in the breast and leg, losing an eye and nearly a foot. These birds flew thousands of missions, maintaining communication under conditions where all electronic and human networks failed. They were, quite literally, the original unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, saving untold lives through their single-minded dedication to their home loft. The pigeon's symbolic weight is enormous. Its role in the story of Noah's Ark cemented its position in Abrahamic religions. In ancient Mesopotamia, the pigeon was sacred to Ishtar, goddess of love and fertility. In Hinduism, the dove is linked to the god of love, Kama. Following the destruction of the world wars, the image was heavily politicized. Pablo Picasso's iconic lithograph, La Colombe, the dove, was chosen as the emblem for the World Peace Congress in 1949, solidifying the bird's status as the global symbol of nonviolence and hopeful return. The negative modern epithet rat with wings is a product of post-industrial urbanization and sanitation failures, not a factual reflection of the pigeon's danger. The fear of disease is largely based on the risk of inhaling spores from large accumulations of dried droppings, guano, which can host fungal pathogens. The main human risks, histoplasmosis, cryptococcosis, and psittacosis, are highly treatable and overwhelmingly contracted only by individuals who clean and disturb massive, unventilated deposits of old guano, such as industrial workers or HVAC technicians. Casual contact with pigeons or small droppings on a sidewalk presents negligible risk to the general public. The fear is a social conjecture that far outweighs the scientific fact. The pigeon is far more likely to suffer from human pollution, traffic, and structural nesting traps than it is to cause us harm. The term pest largely arose as cities struggled with sanitation in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The pigeon, a highly visible scavenger, became an easy target to blame for broader public health issues that were actually caused by human sewage and uncontrolled animal waste. The perception endures, but the science does not support its exclusion from our urban ecosystem. We have covered the full panorama of the rock dove's life, from the fundamental physics of its flight and multi-layered navigation system to its critical role in the history of science and human warfare. It is a creature of ancient loyalty, biological genius, and profound resilience. This is a bird that deserves our respect, not our dismissal. It is a living, breathing testament to the power of adaptation, the persistence of life, and the enduring connection between humans and the natural world. The next time you see a pigeon, remember the warrior, the scientist's muse, and the messenger, a constant companion on humanity's journey. Thank you